The Professional Fighters League is front and center of the MMA world this week. They have purchased and acquired Bellator moving into 2024. We'll give a quick touch on that and what it means. And they have their 2023 World Championship card this Friday, 6 world title fights, the return of Kayla Harrison, the PFL debut of Derek Brunson. First and foremost, off the top, earlier this week, it was officially announced that the PFL had acquired Bellator MMA. So the Bellator that we know and have come to love and appreciate over the past decades now is no more, at least in the terms of the Bellator that we know, right? Because now they are under the PFL banner. And so there aren't a ton of details out there about it, but some of the main things about this deal are as follows. It is believed that Bellator on an international scale will continue to sort of operate the way that we are used to. So just having international fight cards in general, which is something that the PFL has begun to break out and launch into anyways over the past couple of years. They have PFL Europe this year. When they signed Francis Ngannou, earlier this year, they had announced that they were going to do PFL Africa, and it looks like they're going to continue to do Bellator fight events, at least in 2024, over international waters. And then the second thing, which is a pretty intriguing thing, is that there will be a mega event, PFL champions versus Bellator champions. That is going to be quite the card to see. There's so many great matchups that can be in mind. And honestly, some that, like, for example, Patchy Mix at bantamweight, there is no bantamweight division in the PFL, and he's probably the best fighter going right now in Bellator during this acquisition. So there's going to be some kinks that need to be worked out for sure, whether that means someone like Patchy coming up to 145 and fighting, the winner of this weekend's matchup between Jesus Pinedo and Gabriel Braga. I don't know, because obviously there's a featherweight champion in Bellator. So we'll kind of see how they navigate those waters. But that is a huge opportunity to really have a big, here's the new, what did they call it? The global MMA powerhouse, I believe, is kind of the words that they used in this acquisition between PFL and Bellator. That would be quite a way to get a lot of eyeballs and talk around the promotion in 2024. So be sure to let me know what you think of this. This is definitely kind of something groundbreaking to finish off the 2023 year. PFL has always been known to kind of push the boundaries and try new things, regardless of what the outcome may be. This obviously seems like it may be a more positive outcome, but time will tell, because I'm sure it was an expensive endeavor. It's a risky endeavor in the sense of, you have to really try and see, how is this going to affect what we've done for so many years now in the PFL? How will this change everything that Bellator has known? Scott Coker are going to be a part of this, I'd have to imagine. All of the fighters in Bellator, they can come over and essentially fight other PFL fighters, those that aren't champions and whatnot, which is cool, but that's going to be a lot of new talent. PFL does not usually put on a lot of cards. Does this mean that we can get more cards throughout the year? It doesn't just have to be, the PFL season. We can have just regular fight night style cards. I would love to see more of that. And if that's what an acquisition like this can do, I am all for it. I'm excited to see what will come of it, but it was huge news this week, really the biggest thing going in mixed martial arts, and it transitions seamlessly into the biggest night of the year for the PFL. 6 championship fights, Kayla Harrison's return, and the debut of Derek Brunson inside the PFL. Now, I can't just sit here and go through all 6 of these title fights in depth. There's so many things to really hit on if I were to do that, but I do just want to give them all some sort of shine. The main event is Clay Collard versus Olivier Aubin-Mercier. OAM is looking to go back-to-back. He was last year's lightweight champion, 3-0 this season, has not lost since signing with the PFL. Now, Clay Collard had a big year this year as well. He went 3-0. He finished Stevie Ray. He got a big win over Shane Burgos in the playoffs, albeit that fight should have never been taking place in the first place. I digress there. It was a big win for him, for his career, and now he's got a chance to win the $1 million, but it's not going to come easy. OAM has looked like nothing short of a world beater in the Professional Fighters League. He has since put the kind of decision moniker in his past because he's been getting big time finishes in some of these fights, some big knockouts, really showing that he's still evolving as a fighter. So, all in all, I think that is the most anticipated, most intriguing title fight of the six. Hence, while it's in the main event slot. The co-main event will see the heavyweights clash as Denis Goltsov, who's on a 5-fight win streak, undefeated this season, is taking on the 6'8" giant Renan Ferreira. And when Renan puts it all together, he's very scary, he's very dangerous. But an off night for him has shown to be very detrimental to his career and what he can make of it. An off night here against Goltsov will not go well. Denis has been in the playoffs 2 years prior, but never been able to win that championship. He could right the ship in 2023 as we head into this new chapter of the PFL. Larissa Pachecho is looking to go back to back. Now, not at the same weight class. She did it at lightweight last year. This year, doing it at 145 pounds, but nevertheless, back-to-back championships, 2 different weight classes, maybe a little bit cooler, if you will, and back-to-back $1 million giant paychecks for Larissa Pachecho. She's going up against Marina Mokhnatkina. Not an easy name to say whatsoever. I took my time and I think I nailed that. Hit or miss, we'll see. But Larissa's obviously a huge favorite. I believe she's minus 900 as it scrolls across the bottom of the screen there. Marina has an uphill battle, to put it lightly. Larissa did look human once this year against Julia Budd. Julia put up a very good fight, much better than many had anticipated. But outside of that, Larissa has looked so good if your name is not Bud or Kayla Harrison. And, well, that's not who's standing across from her. So I look for Larissa to retain here and go back to back. Then the card gets broken up. I shouldn't say then. These are the latter 3 fights. I'm going from top to bottom. But there's a break in the card where Kayla Harrison will be returning for the first time since losing in the championship last year at lightweight to Larissa Pachecho. Now, this is a 150-pound catch weight. I believe it was originally, don't quote me here, I think it was supposed to be a featherweight 145-pound fight between Kayla and Julia Budd. Julia fell through. In steps Aspen Ladd, another UFC veteran here, did not live up to what I had hoped for her in the PFL. I thought this would be a good change of pace for her, obviously up a weight class to make weight cutting a little easier, but she really did not do so just yet. And I'm not throwing in the towel completely on what she could do next year, but it seems like the Aspen Ladd that I once had so much potential thoughts for, even in the UFC, has really, really digressed. And this is a big, opportunity for her. If she can get a win here against Kayla, that says a lot for what she can still have to offer for the PFL. It would kind of be like, okay, PFL got what they needed out of Kayla. She's kind of on her way. And now we have Aspen who beats her. So we'll see, because they've pushed Larissa pretty good after her beating Kayla last year. But I think Kayla's going to come back very hungry, very fresh, very motivated. In the videos and pictures I've seen of her this week, she looks shredded. She's always been very muscular and strong, but now that she's leaned out, because this is down from lightweight, she just looks very cut up. So I think it's going to be a really big bounce back performance for Kayla Harrison. Then we have the welterweight scrap, Magomedkerimov, Magamillions, as they call him, going up against last year's champion, Sadibou. He's really shut up a lot of people in terms of doubters. He's had very big performances, very big knockouts, and really made a name for himself in the PFL. Magomed, though, oh my. The 2018 PFL champion, has kind of been plagued with a lot of things that have kept him out of the cage in some of these other seasons. 2019, I believe, got cut short. 2021, he loses in the championship. 2022, I believe injuries come into play and keep him away from really doing something with the season. He stayed healthy for 2023, went 3-0. Now he finds himself here in the championship fight, looking to become a 2-time champion, not back-to-back, but 2018 and 2023. And it's going to be tough. Sadibou, like I said previously, has really started to make a name for himself, has began to prove doubters wrong as a very technical, methodical striker, but now has made it clear he does have serious power, and we've seen Magomed get knocked out before. At featherweight, probably the most unlikely fight, at least coming into the season, especially for me, but probably for most people. We have Gabriel Braga, who is undefeated, but just the name value in this one is definitely way different than the rest of the division. So Gabriel Braga, 12-0, versus Jesus Pinedo, who has played spoiler not once, but 2 times this season. So the very first fight of the year in the season's rankings, if you will, was Gabriel Braga fighting Jesus Pinedo. Jesus Pinedo lost that fight, razor close split decision here. So not only do we have the rematch in this 2023 World Championship, but you look at the 2 wins that Jesus has rallied off since then. He beats Brendan Loughnane as like a plus, I don't even know how much favorite. Not only beats him, but knocked him out in a minute and a half. And then in the playoffs, knocked out Bubba Jenkins as a huge underdog once more. This feels much like the 2021 run of Raush Manfio, who was an underdog through and through every fight and somehow found his way to get the victories. Now, in this instance, Jesus Pinedo is putting stamps on these performances, getting big finishes to go along with the underdog moniker. And now he can continue to do it again. Now, these odds in this one are very close. I believe it's minus 108 to minus 112, essentially a pick 'em. However, this is a rematch. This is a chance for him to right the wrong, the only wrong he's had in the PFL. And if he does that, he becomes a millionaire and a world champion. And then the sixth and final title fight at light heavyweight, Josh Silveira, the man who made his way up through the PFL ranks of their like contender series ripoff show, Challenger Series, I believe is what it's called. And if I'm not mistaken, the only loss of Silveira's career was in the playoffs last year in 2022 against former UFC veteran Omar Akhmedov. So he's really looking to put it all together, get the big victory, get the $1 million, and become a champion. But it is against Impa Kasanganay, a former UFC veteran as well, much like Akhmedov from last year, but on the younger side of things. Fought on the contender series, looked like he had a lot of promise in the UFC, was on the receiving end of one of the craziest knockouts in UFC history against Joaquin Buckley. Wins and losses kind of just fluttered out of the UFC, joined into the PFL, but I believe just like Silveira also had to compete on the Challenger Series. And since he won on that show, he was able to enter into this season and has went 3-0, got a knockout in his last win against Martin Hamlet in 2 minutes and 24 seconds. This would be just an amazing story. Noah and I had followed Impa very closely once he had entered into the UFC in 2020 from the Contender Series. And so it sucked to see him kind of falter in the UFC. Even had a loss in Eagle FC, Habib's promotion, if people remember that, in 2022. And now is in the PFL World Championship fight. What a crazy just life turn in just a matter of 3 years for a young Impa Kasanganay, life-changing opportunity. Derek Brunson at 39 years old, making his debut on the 8th fight of the pay-per-view card, which, let's take a second here, 8 fights, 6 of them are 5 rounds, supposed to start at 8 p.m., which means the first fight will start around 8:15, 8:20. It's going to be a late night on Friday night if pacing is anything of the past, like we've seen in the PFL, but I digress. Derek Brunson is making his debut. I believe he's going to compete in the light heavyweight season in 2024. A lot of that probably rides on how he looks here against Ray Cooper III, 2021's PFL champion. Ray, we haven't really seen or heard from much. I believe he's had some injuries and things go on. I don't even know if he had some sort of suspension, but nevertheless, he did not compete in the season of 2023 for the PFL. So we haven't seen him in quite some time. He's a relatively good underdog, minus 180. Derek Brunson debuting at plus 150. I think getting Derek at those odds is actually not that crazy. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of happy Derek Brunson bettors come Friday night. And then we have Biagio Ali Walsh fighting. He's been a lot of excitement, to say the least, about his career so far as an amateur in the PFL. A lot of eyeballs get drawn into the relation of Muhammad Ali. And then we have Bubba Jenkins and Chris Wade going at it. That's a rivalry, one of the biggest ones that the PFL's ever had. So they're going to compete once more. So the PFL World Championship goes down on Friday night. And before I finish this all up, I wanted to do something fun. There's 6 world title fights. I was going to just kind of give my prediction for each, my winner, and then see once we recap this action, how good did I do. So we're going to go top to bottom again. Start in the main event. Lightweight, Clay Collard, Olivier Aubin-Mercier. I'm going OAM. I'm going for the back-to-back lightweight world champion, Olivier Aubin-Mercier. Co-main event at heavyweight, Goltsov versus Ferreira. Ferreira is terrifying, but he has to be perfect in order to win. I don't know if that's going to happen. Give me Goltsov as the heavyweight champion. At women's featherweight, I kind of already said it in the breakdown, Larissa Pachecho. She's going back-to-back in 2 weight classes. 2-time world champion. Take the break with Kayla and Aspen. I'm picking Kayla in her return fight, though. Magomedkerimov and Sadibou C at welterweight. My heart wants to go with Sadibou. The story that he's been able to make of his career and the flip that he's been able to switch for the MMA community, how they view him as a fighter. It's hard to go against MAGA Millions, though. Give me Magomedkerimov. Maybe my toughest one to pick for 2023 championships. Featherweight, the fight that no one saw coming, the rematch, Braga and Pinedo. Give me Jesus Pinedo. I have to go with the momentum. I have to go with the underdog, the Cinderella story as the featherweight champion. And in the 6th and final championship fight, Silveira and Impa Kasanganay. Silveira's great. He's powerful. He's dangerous. But give me the more momentum-driven Impa Kasanganay, more experience, UFC experience. I think he puts it all together and becomes $1 million richer in the light heavyweight division. So that's all I've got for the PFL, this big week that the PFL has had. Give me all of your thoughts on the acquisition of Bellator, what you think it means for the future of PFL times Bellator. Are you excited for it? What type of champion versus champion matchups do you want to see? And then the PFL World Championship on Friday. Give me your predictions for all 6 title fights. Do you agree with mine? Do you disagree? Are you putting together a little 6-leg champion parlay for your betting side of things? Let me know. Give me all your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like on it. Subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss previews like this, recaps, MMA fight announcements, and MMA news like the PFL acquiring Bellator. And I will see you all in the next video. Have a great weekend.